Dark ambient music fades in soft, eerie wind sounds. Narrator, slow, calm tone. In the fall of 2009, the Carver family left the noise of Pittsburgh behind for a fresh start. David Carver had just accepted a new job in a nearby town called Maple Falls. A quiet, peaceful place with winding roads, old forests, and neighbors who still waved when you passed by. For David, his wife Melissa, and their two children Emma and Josh, it felt like a dream. They moved into a two-story farmhouse at the very end of a road called Black Hollow. The name alone sounded like something out of a ghost story, but the price was too good to refuse. The realtor smiled and said, "It's been empty for years, just needs a little love." At first, everything seemed perfect. Melissa spent her days baking and decorating the house. Emma played with her dolls by the window, and Josh explored the woods behind the property. David finally felt at peace, away from deadlines, city traffic, and stress. But peace never lasts long on Black Hollow Road. The first sign came just days after they moved in. One night, as Melissa was unpacking in the kitchen, she heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy, slow, deliberate steps. She smiled, thinking it was David or Josh. But when she called out, "David?" there was no answer. David was in the garage. Josh was asleep. She brushed it off as an old house creaking, until the next morning. The back door, which they always kept locked, was standing wide open. Then came the smell, faint at first like rust or old coins. It lingered in the hallways at night and vanished by dawn. David laughed it off. "It's an old house, Mel. Pipes, wood, the usual." But deep down, even he began to feel something was wrong. The air inside the house grew heavy. Shadows stretched longer than they should. And sometimes, late at night, David would wake up to the sound of whispering, soft, broken voices that seemed to come from the walls. He told himself it was the wind. But deep down he already knew. Something in that house was awake. Music fades out, slow heartbeat sound. A few days passed after Henry Cole's visit, and David tried his best to ignore the neighbor's warning. He didn't believe in ghosts, he believed in logic and evidence. But even logic couldn't explain what kept happening inside that house. At first, it was little things. The sound of running water when all the taps were off. Whispers echoing through the baby monitor when the kids were asleep. Lights flickering at exactly 3 a.m. every night, as if something was waking up when the world went quiet. Melissa was growing anxious. She told David she felt watched, especially when she was alone in the kitchen. One night, she swore she saw a shadow move across the hallway mirror, a dark figure standing just behind her reflection. When she turned around, nothing. David finally decided to install a few security cameras around the house. One in the living room, one in the hallway, and one in the basement. He thought maybe, just maybe, he'd catch whoever, or whatever, was messing with them. A week later, while reviewing the footage late at night, he froze. At 3:17 a.m., the living room camera flickered, just once. And in that flicker, a figure appeared. It was a woman. Her hair was long and tangled, her skin pale like paper. She wore a torn nightgown, and her head tilted just slightly to one side as if she were broken. David hit pause, staring at the screen. The woman's face was blurry, but her eyes were not. They were black, empty, and she was looking straight into the camera. He replayed it again and again, hoping it was just a trick of light. But the woman's head moved, slowly, toward him. David's heart pounded. He rushed to wake Melissa and showed her the footage. She gasped and backed away, trembling. "That's her," she whispered. "That's the woman I've been seeing in the hallway." David deleted the footage that same night. He told Melissa it was just a glitch, a compression error. But when he went to bed, he couldn't shake the feeling that deleting the video hadn't made her disappear. If anything, it made her angry. Static sound fades out, faint whisper, "Don't delete me." Soft crackling sound, faint wind blowing through an open window. Narrator low suspenseful tone. A few days passed after Henry Cole's visit, and David tried his best to ignore the neighbor's warning. He didn't believe in ghosts, he believed in logic and evidence. But even logic couldn't explain what kept happening inside that house. At first, it was little things. The sound of running water when all the taps were off. Whispers echoing through the baby monitor when the kids were asleep. Lights flickering at exactly 3 a.m. every night, as if something was waking up when the world went quiet. Melissa was growing anxious. She told David she felt watched, especially when she was alone in the kitchen. One night, she swore she saw a shadow move across the hallway mirror, a dark figure standing just behind her reflection. When she turned around, nothing. David finally decided to install a few security cameras around the house. One in the living room, one in the hallway, and one in the basement. He thought maybe, just maybe, he'd catch whoever, or whatever, was messing with them. A week later, while reviewing the footage late at night, he froze. At 3:17 a.m., the living room camera flickered, just once. And in that flicker, a figure appeared. It was a woman. Her hair was long and tangled, her skin pale like paper. She wore a torn nightgown, and her head tilted just slightly to one side as if she were broken. David hit pause, staring at the screen. The woman's face was blurry, but her eyes were not. They were black, empty, and she was looking straight into the camera. He replayed it again and again, hoping it was just a trick of light. But the woman's head moved, slowly, toward him. David's heart pounded. He rushed to wake Melissa and showed her the footage. She gasped and backed away, trembling. "That's her," she whispered. "That's the woman I've been seeing in the hallway." David deleted the footage that same night. He told Melissa it was just a glitch, a compression error. But when he went to bed, he couldn't shake the feeling that deleting the video hadn't made her disappear. If anything, it made her angry. Static sound fades out, faint whisper, "Don't delete me." Distant thunder, slow rainfall, faint static building underneath. Narrator low tense tone. It was the night of November 12, 2009, the last night anyone ever saw the Carver family alive. That evening had started like any other. The rain came early, tapping against the windows as the wind howled through the trees. David had been restless all day, pacing from room to room, checking doors, checking windows, as if he knew something was coming. Melissa tried to keep things normal. She made hot chocolate for the kids and put on an old movie. But even Emma, just 8 years old, kept glancing toward the hallway. "Mom," she whispered, "the lady's in my room again." Melissa froze. "What lady, sweetie?" "The one who cries in the corner." David brushed it off, saying Emma was dreaming. But when he tucked her in that night, he saw something that made his stomach turn. A handprint on the wall above her bed. Small, smeared, and red. He told himself it was paint. He didn't look closer. At 11:49 p.m., the first call came to 911. Static. A man's voice. "She's here. She's in the house. I can't." Loud noise, a crash. "She's not Melissa. She's not." Click. The dispatcher tried calling back. No answer. When officers arrived 15 minutes later, the rain had stopped. The front door was wide open. All the lights were off, except the one in the kitchen. Inside they found signs of struggle. A chair knocked over. Dishes shattered across the floor. And in the middle of it all, Melissa's body. No forced entry. No fingerprints except the family's. Upstairs, the children's beds were empty. David was nowhere to be found. The responding officer later reported hearing faint sobbing coming from the basement, but when he went down there, it was silent. Just the smell of rust and mold. On the basement wall, someone had scratched a message into the concrete. The words were rough, uneven, carved deep into the stone. "She won't let us leave." Thunder crashes, heartbeat fades in. The Carver case would haunt Maple Falls for years. But the truth of what happened that night was far darker than anyone could imagine. Static fade out, whisper, "Help me."
2 weeks after the Carvers vanished, the case had gone cold. No new leads, no sightings, and no explanation for the strange events at the house. Detective Laura Myers had seen plenty of unsolved cases, but this one felt like it was watching her. Then, one cold December morning, a local hiker named Tom Andrews stumbled across something deep in the woods, half buried inside the hollow of an old oak tree. A camcorder, cracked and weathered, wrapped in a piece of torn flannel. Tom turned it over to the sheriff's department. And when they reviewed what was inside, the entire investigation changed. Static intensifies, faint sound of tape whirring. The first few clips were harmless, birthday videos, the kids playing in the backyard, Melissa baking. But the final recording, time-stamped November 12th, 11:47 p.m., chilled everyone in the room. The video begins in the living room. The power's out. The only light comes from a single lantern flickering in the corner. David's voice is trembling. "If someone finds this, please don't come here. We tried to leave. God, we tried. But every time we do, we end up back inside. It's like the road folds in on itself." He pans the camera around. The furniture is overturned. The walls are scratched with handprints. In the distance, a woman's sobbing can be heard. "Melissa," he calls out. "Where are the kids?" No response. Just a low humming, like a voice whispering from the floorboards. Then suddenly, a figure appears in the doorway. It's Melissa, but her face is blank. Her eyes are open, but she doesn't blink. She tilts her head slowly toward David. "You promised you wouldn't leave me," she says, her voice layered, like two people speaking at once. David stumbles back. The camera shakes violently. The screen flickers, showing glimpses of faces, pale and twisted, emerging from the dark corners of the room. Then, silence. The final seconds show the camera lying on the floor. A pair of bare feet steps into frame. Then, a whisper, right next to the mic. She never left. The screen cuts to static. Loud click, static fades out, replaced by slow, echoing heartbeat. That tape never made it to the public. But those who've seen it say they still hear her voice in their dreams. Soft whisper in background, "Don't look away." Would you like me to continue with Scene 7, The Aftermath, 400 words, next? You said, next. ChatGPT said. Excellent, drop of blood. Here's Scene 7, around 400 words. Continuing your YouTube horror narration series, The House on Black Hollow Road for the Death Story. Studio microphone. Scene 7, The Aftermath. Soft wind howling, faint creaking wood, distant police radio chatter fades in and out. Narrator, slow, somber tone. After the discovery of the tape, the Carver case was officially closed as unsolved. No bodies were ever recovered. No one could explain what happened to David, Emma, or Josh. Only Melissa's death was confirmed, and even that left more questions than answers. The house on Black Hollow Road was sealed off with police tape. For months, it stood silent, the windows boarded and the grass growing tall around it. Locals said the air near the property felt colder, heavier. Some even claimed they could still hear the faint cries of children echoing from the woods at night. But Maple Falls didn't forget. And neither did Detective Laura Myers. Even after the department ordered her to move on, something kept pulling her back to that house. Every night, she dreamt of it, the flicker of the hallway lights, the whispering from the basement, the phrase burned into the wall. She won't let us leave. Myers tried to let it go, until the reports started again. In 2018, nearly a decade later, a young couple named the Petersons bought the land. The house had been torn down, and they built a small modern cabin in its place. For a few weeks, everything was fine. Then the same things began to happen. The whispers, the metallic smell, the feeling of being watched. One night, the Petersons called the local sheriff, terrified. They said a woman had appeared at the foot of their bed. Pale. Crying. Wearing a torn nightgown. When officers arrived, the couple was already gone. The cabin was empty, but the bed sheets were wet, as if someone had been standing there in the rain. The sheriff ordered the cabin demolished. Again, the land was declared condemned. No one has lived there since. But hikers passing through Maple Falls say that if you walk far enough into the woods near where the Carver house once stood.
Low hum, faint flicker of fluorescent lights, quiet paper shuffling. Narrator, slow, investigative tone. By 2021, Detective Laura Myers had long retired from the Maple County Sheriff's Department. She had moved to another town, trying to leave the memories of Black Hollow Road behind. But that case, it never really left her. Even in retirement, she'd wake in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, hearing faint whispers she couldn't explain. Sometimes, when she closed her eyes, she saw Melissa Carver's pale face, her mouth moving silently, as if trying to say something Laura couldn't hear. Then, one morning, she got a letter. No return address. No name. Just one line written in red ink. "You forgot something." Inside the envelope was a small rusted key, wrapped in a piece of cloth that looked decades old. Laura recognized it immediately. It was the same key she had found in the Carver's basement the night of the murders, the one she never logged into evidence. She'd kept it, tucked away in a box, convincing herself it was just instinct. But now, seeing it again, she knew she had to find out what it opened. After some digging, she discovered that the key matched a storage unit in a nearby town, one rented back in 1992 under the name Richard Hale, the man who had lived in the house before the Carvers. Soft click, sound of a metal door rolling open. Inside the locker, everything was coated in dust. Boxes stacked to the ceiling, old tools, newspaper clippings, and photographs. But one object sat in the center, untouched, a leather-bound journal. Laura flipped it open. The first page read, "She told me she would never let anyone leave this house alive." Page after page described Richard's descent into madness. How his wife began speaking to someone only she could see, how mirrors broke on their own, how the house whispered at night. The final entry was dated the night before he took his life. It simply said, "She's not my wife anymore. She's wearing her skin, but it's her house now." Static rises, faint echo of a woman's laughter distorted. Laura closed the journal and stepped back. The air around her felt colder. When she turned to leave, she noticed something scratched into the inside of the storage door. Words written in rust and dust. "Welcome back, Laura." Sound of a key falling. Heartbeat slows, then silence.
Soft wind whistling, faint hum of night insects, a slow heartbeat underneath. Narrator, quiet, eerie tone. After that night, Detective Laura Myers was never seen in Maple Falls again. She packed her belongings and left town before sunrise, leaving behind her badge, her files, and the rusted key. But the story didn't end with her. In small towns like Maple Falls, rumors spread faster than truth. Some said Laura went insane, that she spent her final days in a psychiatric ward, mumbling about a woman in white who followed her everywhere. Others believed she simply disappeared, the same way the Carvers did, swallowed by the darkness that lived on Black Hollow Road. The house itself may be gone, but the land remembers. Travelers who take the wrong turn late at night sometimes find themselves on a narrow dirt path that doesn't appear on any map. Their phones lose signal. The GPS freezes. The trees grow thicker, the air colder. And then, the headlights catch it. A figure, standing just at the edge of the road. A woman in a torn nightgown, her head tilted slightly to the side. She doesn't move. She doesn't blink. She just stares. Some drivers swear she opens her mouth, like she's about to scream, but no sound comes out. Others say she smiles. And if you stop the car, even for a second, she's suddenly gone. But when you get home, you'll smell it. That same metallic scent, faint, like old blood and rust. And when you check your mirrors, Just for a moment, you'll see her, standing right behind you. Locals still warn newcomers. Never take Black Hollow Road after dark. Don't listen to the whispers in the woods. And whatever you do, don't stop if you see her. Music builds softly, wind rises. Because the woman in white isn't a ghost. She's something older, something bound to that land. And every few years, she finds a new family, a new home to haunt, reminding Maple Falls that some stories don't stay buried. Soft pause, faint whisper. Come home. Narrator. Closing tone. This has been the death story. Remember, not every disappearance has an ending. And not every haunted house stays empty. Music fades out. Static crackles. Then silence.